We would like to invite Sunjoy back to the stage in front of the podium as our forum draws to a close. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome Mr. Sunjoy Joshi to give the concluding thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, CAPRI, for getting me here to speak to this August gathering. Following Mayor Chang's act is going to be a Herculean task because he practically has summed up this conference better than I could ever have about what resilience means and what being small and fighting back and using technology to create resilience really means. So I'm going to be short. I'll just take about 5 to 7 minutes concluding this. We have a great day of discussions. Great ideas thrown forward, and I'll not even try to sum them all up. That is going to be impossible. I'll just pick some strands from it from here and there. And let me get back by starting with Kathy's directive, strip away the politics, and start looking at what is this all about when we start talking resilience. See, we are actually in a situation. What does it mean to strip away the politics? When you strip away the politics, it also means stripping away the power equations that politics is power of. And those power equations, politics is about power. Exertion of power, whether at the domestic level, that goes into democratic cycles, elections, and how do you address domestic audiences. Trump faces it. Even President Xi faces it, even if they don't have elections. It is also at the global level when it comes into geopolitics. And any discussion which we have seen today, when we start discussing many of these issues, will have geopolitics as an important component of it. And Robin gave that excellent talk right in the morning, breaking it down for all of us. The power play of global geopolitics, which manifests itself today in these big geopolitical shifts which we are seeing, strip that away, strip the politics away from it. What are we left with? We are left with, two large political economies handling a situation where the political economies are spinning out of control. And this is not to do with Trump. Let us understand that. Trump is a symptom. He is not the cause. There are deeper reasons. So when people in the global south start thinking about this, some of the bigger countries, some larger countries start thinking about it, the question that arises in their minds and should be central to everyone's minds is that what if the typical Hollywood what is movies, imagine about it, what if these shifts are not temporary? They do not last for the next election cycle, but there are deeper reasons why these are going to be permanent. Why this kind of tectonic shifts are going to be permanent. Then how do we handle it? How do we build resilience in the face of this? And when you start looking at this, then the situation changes. A typical response in many countries would be, okay, when two big elephants fight, as the African saying goes, don't be the grass and get trampled by it. So get out of the way. And the other solution which is given is, no, don't be the grass. Be rather like that reed, the elephant grass, which sways, grows tall and sways, and the elephant needs it. And that is how you survive. So these are methodologies which are being practiced by many countries in this kind of situation. And when we move forward, when we start looking around us, so that is how countries, at least the middle powers, are kind of practicing this formula for resilience. And what they start doing is build regional partnership, build regional alliances, build smaller structures of a local globalization, a regional globalization, and try to move on with their own markets. RCEP is a primary example. The ASEAN countries are a primary example of what they're trying to do in this game. They don't want to choose. They do not want to be forced into making a choice. So that is one option. What do the smaller countries do? And how do they handle this kind of situation? When Goliaths fight, see, there is, always remember, the fatal flaw that Goliath makes. What was the fatal flaw that Goliath makes? It is believing that scale gives security. No, it is believing that dominance alone is enough to create stability. And that just the sheer fact of having access by its power also gives control over the geopolitics of the situation. But what happens when along comes David with a slingshot? And we heard an excellent presentation by Mayor Chang about how does David respond. Taiwan is all about that kind of response. How do you handle this uncertainty? See, hubris is not just a flaw, this vulnerability, the idea that you have one fatal flaw somewhere, that one vulnerability the powerful have, which brings them down. It's not just embedded in tragic heroes. It is not just embedded in empires. It is embedded in our supply chains. And we see how that little one pebble in the boot hobbled the biggest and the mightiest during COVID. When smaller countries actually ended up responding far better than the high and the mighty and the large. Taiwan is a prime example of how you handle COVID. So the large states are like supertankers. They take a long, big circle to turn. And they have problems. When the aircraft carrier Harry Truman comes under Houthi attack, it has to retreat and go back. Now, this is about how scale sometimes becomes a hobbler, especially in the modern world today. So we're living in times, when, because of changing circumstances, there are shifts, there are major shifts, and where the true measure of power is not really size. It is actually the ability to be resilient. Resilience becomes a true measure of power. And that is the kind of world which we're heading into in many ways. And what does it mean also at a conceptual level, at a deeper conceptual level? There is this whole idea of understanding the world in terms of labels and dichotomies and saying, okay, country A is a democracy, it has free markets, country B is not a democracy, it does not have free markets. And I would like to quote academician Wei Shai when he says, things change. China is not what it was 30 years ago, 10 years ago. Taiwan is not what it was. The US is not what it was 20 years ago, a generation ago. It's transformed, it's changed. So the only thing permanent in this world is impermanence, change. And that is one concept which you need to start thinking of this new way of handling the world we are living in today. So this entire idea of breaking up everything into this Cartesian, it's actually a power play of labeling and calling someone good, someone bad, someone evil. We are all a mixture of everything. So nobody is perfect. No country is perfect. No nation is perfect. We all have our defects. We all have our deficiencies. So constructing things, labeling them, pushing them behind an iron curtain or pushing them behind a bamboo curtain, there's a problem. There's a problem with that approach. And resilience is actually about conceptually moving beyond these dichotomies which we've created. These false narratives of power which are many times created to exert dominion and control, because there is politics within these narratives. Narratives are about exertion of power. So going behind them, examining them, breaking them down becomes extremely important. And when we start off looking at this non-binary way of looking at things, then we come back to the old philosophers, we come back to Heraclitus, who said, you don't step in the same river twice. And that's what the Buddha also says. The essence of the river remains, the name of the river remains, its essence changes every day. And if in that extremely dynamic situation, that is where we are really living, each situation contains the seeds of its opposite. It is the yin and the yang in Taoism. That is where real change emerges from. And opposites, paradoxes, are actually about bringing very, very different things together, on seeing the larger picture and growing and moving, transcending onto a higher level. And that is actually, I think we are in a phase of the world where that is going to be happening over the next 1 or 2 decades. It's going to take time, it's going to be a difficult process. The other idea is the idea, again, of interdependence. This whole idea of, okay, there is one cell, there's one thing outside, the world is interconnected. We are determined by everyone around us. We cannot run away. To think that we can become closed loops with everything within this particular supply chain, all within the national borders, is ridiculous. It will never happen. So we are going to be depending upon each other. So how do we live with these kinds of dependency? Which is really going to be the essence of reality. Are we going to, as some excellent suggestions gave, Mayor Chang said, and I always loved the idea, that you build smart, you build modular. Yes, supply chains will need to reconfigure. So how do you build smarter, more modular supply chains, which get in with, you find people, you find partners, there are interim arrangements, until you get back into a larger structure, which is going back into a bigger global governance. That is going to take time in this kind of situation. So in this complicated world, which we are finding ourselves in this very complex situation we're finding ourselves in, we are a world which is scarred by very difficult, conflicting histories. All of us have very deep, conflicting histories. How do we transcend them? How do we move beyond those histories? And the only workable solution in many times in these situations, is probably a suboptimal solution, which one party or the other finds it's suboptimal. So how to get back to that process of dialogue? And that is where forums like this become extremely important in the idea of building that resilience for the new world. And that's why I'm so glad that CAPRI is doing this here in Taiwan, which has the right ecosystems to think these new ways, to create these new ways which can move forward in this different kind of a world, and not just move forward, but try and give it a shape. So that is all I'll say. Thank you, great work, and we look forward to coming back again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Joshi. Please take your seat. We also very much look forward to you coming back again next year, and also with more new friends and new faces. So this marks the official close of CAPRI's 3rd annual forum. On behalf of CAPRI, thank you again for taking part in today's discussions. Your presence and participation made this event truly meaningful. And let's give one final round of applause for all of our distinguished speakers and moderators for their fantastic job and contributing and bringing all kinds of different ideas and perspectives into today's forum.